Let's talk about Harry Clarke. So we're going to focus our attention on who is Harry Clarke. If you're not familiar with his work, you will be at the end of this.
Ole, ole, ole. Ole, ole, ole. Ole, ole, ole.
A right back predominantly from Ipswich, 23 years young. He'll be 24 in March if he's not careful. He's 5'11", which is slightly too tall on the great height for a man scale. He's made 7 Premier League appearances at time of recording for the Tractor Boys. This is an interesting one, a wrinkle that many people have pointed out to me. It's available on Wikipedia as well. During Ipswich's 4-3 loss to Brentford in October 2024, Clarke became only the second player in Premier League history to score an own goal, concede a penalty, and receive a red card in the same game, which you've got to say is actually quite impressive. Clarke began his career with the Tractor Boys and then was signed by Arsenal. He was actually scouted by Ipswich when he was playing for Brantham Athletic. Went to Ipswich, then went to Arsenal as a youth player in 2015. In August 2018, he signed his first professional Gunners contract. It was renewed again in December 2019. So Arsenal don't usually miss. They obviously recognised something there. Clarke began as a midfielder, but Arsenal converted him to the defender he is today. He did enjoy some loan spells away from the Gunners. Let's look at his career stats by club. He had a loan at Oldham, 35 appearances, 1 goal, 1 assist. He had a loan spell at Stoke City, 20 appearances, 2 goals, 1 assist. Also enjoyed some time at Ross County, 17 appearances, 3 goals, 2 assists. At Hibs, 8 appearances, 1 goal, 2 assists. And then he joined Ipswich, or rejoined Ipswich, I should probably say. 67 appearances, 1 goal, 2 assists. That was in January 2023 that Clarke rejoined Ipswich Town for an undisclosed fee from Arsenal. He's represented England at under-17 youth level twice. Now, performances by competition, it's 53 championship appearances, 32 League Two appearances, knows League One. He's played there 20 times. And I already mentioned he's got some experience in the top flight. He's played as a right back 79 times, but as a centre back 68 times. There's that versatility. Now, notes from the Blue Monday podcast on Harry Clarke. He was a more conservative of the two fullbacks. He can definitely play on the right of the 3 at the back, but I feel like he's more comfortable as a right back. Really talented player who has some great attributes, but needs to be a bit smarter in the head, both on and off the ball. He's definitely physically gifted all round, decent pace, strong, and he's solid in the air. Also has good technical ability, as can use both feet, and played as a central midfielder growing up, as I mentioned, so is aware of his surroundings when being pressed. He's a good long passer over the top on him. He's got that ability. He's found Burns running in behind plenty of times. Does prefer to play longer and more adventurous passes, so he loses the ball quite frequently, which was fine with our quick style of play. Interesting, I'm just going to break off from reading these quotes. The stats on 𝗣𝗵𝗴 do back that up. That yes, he attempts the long ball, but it's not always successful. But when you're attempting a more difficult and adventurous pass, that will often be the case. His short passing stats were very, very encouraging. I'll continue. Comfortable at carrying the ball into space or through tight spaces when pressed. Again, his both-footedness helps here, as can easily problem solve. I'm just going to go back to positions played. He has played as a left back 7 times. He's played on the left of midfield 3 times. Just something to keep in our memory warehouse because it could be useful, that versatility. Can do a variety of different crosses and is solid enough at the majority of them. Is happy to get on the overlap to get into these situations. Bit of a mix when it comes to his defensive ability. Okay, he's decent enough one-on-one when you look at the numbers, but is very passive in how he defends. He's often too slow to close the opposition down, sometimes due to how dragged across he was in the Ipswich system, and doesn't block the shot cross enough. He's much more aggressive in his defending when he's stepping up to press his opposite player, but still doesn't put his foot in enough to win the ball. Bit of a liability positionally when it comes to defending on the defensive line. Has played a few opposition players onside for goals and can be easily dragged across by runners, leaving his wing open. That's the thoughts then of fans that have seen him far more than I. Notes from the Blue Monday podcast on Harry Clarke. I'm very grateful we are for those. Now, he's had a couple of injuries, according to Transfermarkt. Just as unknown injury in 22-23, which isn't very helpful, but he did miss 40 days. That was when at Stoke. And he had a very bad hamstring injury, 73 days missed back in the 21-2022 season. Of course, you hope very much that those kind of injuries are behind him. So what are your thoughts on Harry Clarke? Sounds to me right back, which of course the position of need is where he would slot in at Sheffield United. So you've heard my thoughts. You've heard from the Blue Monday podcast. What about one of our favourite friends of the channel, and in fact a very popular Sheffield United voice, because he's a neutral that has always been, I think, honest, but also at the right times favourable to the Blades. It is fellow YouTuber and podcaster Benjamin Bloom. I caught up with Benjamin as part of a longer interview, which you can watch on this channel, and thought it was timely to ask him his thoughts on Harry Clarke. Who better to tell me who Harry Clarke is than Ipswich Town supporter Benjamin Bloom, friend of the channel, friend of Sheffield United. But are you a friend of Harry Clarke's? What's he like?
I'm a wonderful friend of Harry Clarke, and at the end of Ipswich's glorious double promotion, the one picture you probably saw everywhere was Harry Clarke hoisted on an Ipswich fan's shoulders, pretending to swig from an inflatable bottle of champagne on the Portman Road pitch after the double promotion was confirmed. I bloody love Harry Clarke, honestly, because he's an Ipswich boy, and he was with the club, and then he went away. He went to blooming Arsenal, didn't he? He went to the big club, and then you have to kind of find your level again. It's hard. And if you're 𝗣𝗿𝗲𝗕, fine, you come through and you play for Arsenal for 10 years. That's fine. But not everybody is 𝗣𝗿𝗲𝗕. But so Harry Clarke came down on loan to Stoke. I don't know if he did any other loans. I'm trying to recall. He came down to the Championship.
He did a few loans, and he was at Oldham, Ross County as well. And I think he had some time at Hibs.
So the season he signed for Ipswich, he'd been with Stoke in the Championship. He's kind of finding that as his level. And then, as all self-aware Ipswich fans knew, they were the richest team in League One by far, and were able to spend a lot of money on Harry Clarke in the January transfer window. Excuse me. And he came in League One and was just clearly above the level. And the Professor, Kieran McKenna, already knew what he wanted to do with a lopsided shape. And he wanted someone who was not only a right back, but would be okay covering a vast swathe of the pitch while 𝗤𝗍𝗄 marauded up the other side. So you have a centre-back and a right-back, a kind of hybrid player who can do both. Very powerful, very physically, very good as well. In the Championship, he was an absolute kind of mainstay for the most part. But as things have transpired, Axel 𝗬𝗏𝗍𝗍 came in at the end of the season, and the 𝗤𝗍𝗍𝗍 thing got even more and more pronounced, and you just needed somebody a bit solid towards the end of the season in that hole. And it then became between Clarke and 𝗬𝗏𝗍𝗍 rotating the position there. We've gone into the Premier League, and Harry Clarke has been one of the victims, I'm sure, as you would know as a Blades fan, seeing promotions where, unfortunately, sometimes the people that get you there are quite quickly, I can't use a better term than bombed out. It is what it is. And then they're available for loan, aren't they, in January? So I love Harry Clarke. There's obviously an emotional reason why, because he was one of the, he was an Ipswich guy. Not only did he come through, he went away and he came back as well, which is fantastic.
But would he be a success at Sheffield United?
Yeah, of course he would. Yeah, I mean, he's just been involved in a double promotion. If he's working with the Professor, he obviously follows instructions well, and taps into patterns of play. He's literally been promoted out of the division the season before. I know we are not in Chris Wilder era of 3 centre backs. But having the hybrid position is massively helpful. So talk to me about the depth at centre back and right back then.
I think depth is probably an interesting term because there's so many injuries this season, and losing Harry Souttar is so crucial. But right back, you've got 𝗤𝗍𝗍𝗍, but he's only on loan from Chelsea, and he would probably rather play at centre-back. 𝗤𝗏 𝗏𝗏 has looked fantastic when he's come in at right-back, but he's had injuries. Sheffield United linked with John Joe Kenny. That seems to have completely fallen by the wayside. It's almost been held hostage by Hertha Berlin. So then you need a right-back that's probably going to see you through to the end of the season. It makes sense from that point of view. If he is going to play centre-back, that would probably be at the expense of Jack Robinson, who has an error in him. And since losing 𝗤𝗏 𝗏𝗏, the Blades have looked a bit more sieve-like at the back. And 𝗚𝗿𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 can only do so much.
I think you just hit the nail on the head there by identifying the brief and the short-term need. And as we discussed on the full interview we did, the need for your owners and for Sheffield United is to score one more point than Burnley over the next 3 months, isn't it? And look, he's not your guy to play a centre-back in a back four. You want him in a three if he's doing that, which Wilder's not going to do this season. So it would be more the right back area. I wasn't aware that 𝗤𝗏 could come inside, but he would do you a turn at centre back. But you would think right back and you're golden there. But yeah, it's having somebody who is just ready to go immediately and speaks the language, knows the league, has done well in the league. I think it'd be a great signing.
Thank you very much to Benjamin Bloom. Thank you to you very much for watching or listening to this as an audio podcast. As always, I'm fascinated in your feedback on these videos, the style, the way we do them, and the player specifically. So any thoughts you have on Harry Clarke? Perhaps you're watching this as an Ipswich fan who's seen him, or just a Blade who has some memories of him. Let me know.
𝗚𝗿𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗚. 𝗚𝗿𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗚.